Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Friday. It's Daryl here. It is bright and freaking early, man. It's 3 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. Okay, hey, I want to share some great news with you guys. I actually got noticed. I got an email yesterday, and I got noticed by YouTube as a YouTube partner, an up and coming YouTube channel, a YouTube partner. A YouTube partner is a channel that's monetized. And here, I'll show you guys. Hey, it's not a silver plaque. It's not a silver YouTube or gold YouTube plaque, but you know, it's something. And I don't know if you guys probably can't see that. It says, "High five, partner! A high five to our partner, artist in recovery." And up top, artist in recovery. Over the next few weeks, we're going to be celebrating the great work you're doing as a YouTube partner, because YouTube is nothing without you. It's been 1,105 days since you first joined the YouTube Partner Program, and here's a well-earned high five to celebrate all your hard work on YouTube. Woo! I know it's not much, but it's pretty cool. I get a free pizza. Like I said, it's not a gold plaque or a silver YouTube plaque, but hey, I'll take a free pizza. Okay. I came across this article on TMZ. The link's going to, as usual, the link's going to be right down below. And there's going to be two videos, two TMZ very short videos down below. One's going to be Macy Gray, the singer, and the other one's going to be Chet Hanks. I know I've done videos about Chet Hanks saying some stupid stuff before and doing stuff that I didn't think was too cool. But in this video, I agree with him, because it sounds like he's in recovery. And some of the stuff he says, it reminded me specifically of one incident. And I'm going to share that. I have hundreds or thousands of these incidents. I used for like 22 years. I used coke, and I got cross addicted to heroin and everything else. And from the age of about 18 to 40, I was using coke. Here, let me tell you guys too. This video. This isn't like a contest. This isn't. I'm not doing this video to glamorize anything. The thing that I don't want to see is other people sharing comments down below, telling me their stories, trying to like one up each other. You know, I seen that before in NA and AA groups, and that's not what this is about. The reason I'm telling you guys this is because I've learned from incidents like this. I'm ashamed and embarrassed, and I'm disgusted with incidents that like the one I'm gonna share with you, and that's the reason why I'm telling you this. Let me share this with you guys too. Macy Gray, okay, she actually brags about using coke and edibles and doing shots. This is on MTV's Surreal Life, Villa of Secrets. I didn't even know MTV exists anymore, and I let alone anybody watches it. I remember MTV from when it first came out, like in 1980. But anyway, so Macy Gray, the link to this video, you could watch her talk about this right down below. And she says like what she uses, so she's calling these other people in this reality show hippies, because they're talking about breathing and exercise, stuff like I do right now. And she says that she doesn't do that hippie stuff. She says LA is full of hippies. And they ask her what she does when she's feeling down or sick, and she says she has a few shots and does some coke. And I just look at people like this, and I feel sorry. I really do, that they haven't. Somebody this age, she's got to be in her 40s at least. Somebody this age, or 50s even. She's been around for a while, and she still thinks like this. Back when I was using, I used to lie to myself about coke. I would do coke instead of like heroin, because I thought that I wouldn't get as addicted as hard to it. And then I would use heroin instead of coke, because I would tell myself that I just have to use it like once in the morning instead of like constantly, like every 15 minutes. So I would use both all day, every day. But then I would lie to myself why I'm using one as opposed to the other. Like every 15 minutes I would use this one and say, well, I'm not going to use that one. This one's better. Seriously. Looking back at this, I see the insanity of this. I'm gonna share this moment with this night that I went through with you guys. Another thing, I remember there's gonna be a link down below to this too. I remember being in it was St. Francis Hospital in Hartford. I was in this detox, and they had a picture of a heart from the actual autopsy, and it had the files and everything showing the person's name and I don't know how they got a hold of this. Well, it's a hospital. They must have had permission from the family or something. And it was a picture of a heart blown out from cocaine use with an actual hole blown in it. And I've looked some of that stuff up, and there's going to be a link down below, pictures of a heart. And this is, and I still kept using for like 10 years after I saw this. I used to lie to myself about, about what it did. Now that I'm 58 years old, I look up people that I used to use with, and this is no exaggeration. I would say 75% of the people that I used to use with have passed away either from overdoses. And here's the thing, most of them have passed away from some kind of heart condition, like usually like around the age of, I quit using at 40, and they kept using. And about 8, 9, 10 years later, they ended up passing away from heart conditions having to do with cocaine and alcohol use. I mean, I could literally count a dozen of these people that I used to hang out with that are now passed away from this. And I used to tell myself, it's not like heroin, you don't OD from it. It doesn't kill you, stuff like that. I used to lie to myself and tell myself this. And now a large percentage of the people that I used to use with are no longer on this earth, and they basically rotted away from the inside, honestly. Okay, now on to this. The video down below. This is the second video. And it's Chet Hanks, and I actually kind of like what he says. He says, well, I don't like what he says, but I could identify with it. He talks about back when he was using, and he says that even amongst cokeheads, and I was one of these people. He said he would go into a bathroom, and there would be, when you go to a bar, there was people that you knew were cokeheads. So I was one of those people. I was both people, like in this, what he's talking about. And that always had coke on them, and you'd ask them for a bump in the bathroom, because they always had it on them. And he says even these people used to tell him, the people that used all the time, the cokeheads, would tell him to, slow down, wait 15 minutes. And I was also that person, I would go through this, every 5 minutes, I'd be bam, 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 doing bumps. And I remember every time I'd use every night, 24/7 for years. And I would get so messed up every night that I couldn't function, that I couldn't go into the bar. My jaw would be going back and forth. I'd be just pouring sweat, and I would still be using, and it would just make it so much worse. And I remember I was supposed to meet a girl for a date, me and this other guy, and I couldn't even, I told her I was having some kind of panic attack. I had to leave because I was standing there going, like this, and the sweat was pouring down, and I was like, I'm having a panic attack. I gotta leave. It's serious, it's just. And the sad thing is, she ended up going home with me that night too. Not good memories. Okay, so Chet talks about this, and it reminded me specifically, because there were some nights that I didn't, of course I didn't, I'd spend $1,000 in a day easy. So there was nights that I didn't have any money. I'd be using all day, and I would run out of everything. This happened quite often. And I remember there was a big bar in the town that I grew up in, and this other guy who was one of these cokeheads that Delta, I knew that he had coke all the time. He was promoting a battle of the bands at this bar. It was a big bar, and they were having these young kids, like in their late teens. This is back in 1998, 2000. Back when the raves were beginning. And there was a battle of the bands with all these young kids. I was probably in my mid-30s, and all the kids the place was filled with like 300, 400, 500 kids in a battle of the bands. And this guy that I knew was promoting it. And I went there. I didn't have anything left. So when I ran out of stuff like this, I would go to my friends' houses to see if they had anything to bump stuff off them. And I knew this guy was going to be there at this bar. So I went there and I started hanging out, just kind of hanging out around him, hoping he would just give me one little bump, just a teeny little bit. And he used me that night, man. He kept telling me, and he was good at this looking back. He said, well, here, I tell you what, help me out here. I need some help, and I'll set you up all night. I'll hook you up. I'll give you a little some energy. So I was like, great. So I started helping him. So he had me sweeping the parking lot. Okay, so kids are pulling into this parking lot at 11, 12 o'clock at night. And I remember this. They had stuffed animals with them. I mean, they were teenagers. going to a rave, you know, and I remember, and they tore up these stuffed animals. So there was stuffing all over the parking lot, and it was raining. So it was just a mess in the parking lot. So he had me go out there with a broom, this huge parking lot, and sweep the entire parking lot. And I did it. I did it for hours out there in the pouring rain, sweeping this stuffing, this mushed up, wet stuffing out of the parking lot, underneath the kids' cars. Well, they're all busting my butt. They're smoking a cigarette. They throw it on the ground. Hey, make sure you get that too. Seriously, you know. And I'm like, I'm still doing it because I might get a bump. I hadn't gotten anything out of it yet. He just kept saying, "Oh, keep going and just do this, and I'll give you a little bump." So I do more, and I do more, and I do more. It got to the point, it was 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, the show was over. So I'm like, come on, man, where's my bump? And he says, I'll tell you what. He says, I'll buy you, and he had this other guy working for him too, this other homeless guy. And he said, I'll buy you guys a beer, just wait a second. So me and him went into the bar next door, and we sat down, and he bought one beer between us, of one bud, and we split it. And I sat there, and he ended up taking off and going home at like 3 in the morning. Never got the bump. I worked for him all night for free, sweeping the parking lot, on my own, of my own volition, of my own will, doing this because I thought he was just going to give me a teeny little bump, and he never even did. He just used me all night for free labor, and I deserved it. Looking back at that, I deserved it. One of the main reasons I don't use this drug anymore is because I knew what it did to me. I knew how it worked physiologically back then, but I am willing to admit it to myself now. The way it works is, you do a bump and it activates the chemicals in your brain, the feel-good chemicals, where you feel good. Great, right? Except you go up like this, and then you run out of those chemicals in your brain, and you go down really quick, and you crash, and you feel 10 times worse than you did just at the beginning. So you use a little more, and you go back up, but not quite as high this time because you're running out of the chemical. Your brain can only produce so much of these feel-good chemicals, and then you crash again harder. So you're going up and then down, and then up not as far, and then down further, and then up not as far, and then down further, and then you get to the point where you're just barely getting normal, just getting functional, and then you're crashing hard and getting up a little bit and then crashing hard. That's how this drug works. That you run out of those chemicals. Your brain can only produce so much of those feel-good chemicals. Cocaine activates those chemicals. Now I exercise. I feel great all freaking day. I don't need any chemicals. It is so much better. I look back at how I was going around this ridiculous never-ending circle of trying to feel good, and I feel great now. This is one of the reasons why I would never use now, because I knew this is how the drug worked back then, but I never admitted it to myself. Like, I just wanted that first high, and I didn't care what came after it. But now I look at it and like, why would I do that to myself? Because now I look at the consequence. I look a little further than the first 5 minutes. And I'm going to feel 10 times, 100 times worse later. Not to mention I'd probably be in jail and out of money. Why would I do that to myself? I feel great now. Recovery is possible, man. The links will be down below. I'll be back later. I got more videos, man. I'm going to make a short video today. I'm not sure on what, because I'm supposed to tag this YouTube creator thing so they take a look at my videos. Have a good Friday.